Hi, good afternoon. My name is Bradley Chapman, and today we're joined by Albert Wright
Hello.
from Small Business Solutions, and we're going to be talking about the topic of business wisdom today. Now, before we kick off, welcome to Raw Business TV. And for those of you who have watched some of the previous webcasts, we deliver a series of different business topics and webcasts. They last about 30 to 35 minutes. Just before we start, you've got a web player that you can see us both in the screen at the moment. There's some small buttons on the bottom of the player, so if you wish to increase the size of the player, press the buttons and the player size will increase. If you want to send us a question, then you need to log in and enter your name as a guest, and you can chat with us on the chat participant system. But in any case, welcome to Raw Business TV. It's Tuesday today, and I'm very, very pleased to be joined with Albert today. And the reason for that is this: I've only just found out, talking to Albert in our boardroom. And Albert's been a very, very long-standing supporter of Raw Business, and prior to that, Million Impossible. And I have to give you my sincere thanks, actually. But in any case, I didn't realise that Albert first was introduced to myself from attending an event at the British Library called Inspiring Entrepreneurs, and it was I was invited to speak on stage with three other people, and Albert was in the audience. I just found that out, and that was January 2008, so
2008,
quite some time ago now. So we're very, very pleased to be joined by Albert today. I actually do wish I had some of his wisdom, because I'd probably be much more fortunate than I am right now. We were just discussing the business challenges, so today's discussion about business wisdom is quite ironic considering what we were just talking about. In any case, welcome to Raw Business, and particularly Raw Business TV. Who are we? We're an online business and entrepreneur networking company. We've got thousands of members who are becoming more and more connected every day. Now, we offer a mixture of marketing, advertising and networking for your company and for yourself, of course. And we publish a leading business magazine called Raw Business Magazine. We've had the great pleasure to interview some of the UK's highest profile entrepreneurs, which normally feature on our front cover. And inside the magazine, we feature stories from everyday entrepreneurs. When I say everyday, I use that word quite a lot now, and the reason I do is because we've got a new tagline on our website, which is "Everyday people achieve extraordinary things," and I think that's so true. But also, we are just like you. We're trying to move our business forward. It's a challenge out there right now. We have to be very positive in how we move our businesses forward and think about, some positive outcomes and take steps to ensure that we build upon the success of our businesses, and hopefully, as we were talking again earlier, we can increase the success rates of businesses in the UK. Membership to Raw Business is completely free. Excuse me. So please feel free to go to rawbusiness.com and register and join our online community and get involved in what we're doing. And the more business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs that we have online will help build and strengthen the network and proposition that we have, creating a message for entrepreneurs that there is help and there is support out there, and that other people do share adversities and challenges in business and also overcoming them as well. So welcome to Albert. Before I just move on to and pass across to Albert, and I'm going to jump out the screen. Who is Albert Wright? Apart from being a very, very dear supporter, Albert has 20 years experience with Marks and Spencer's in food buying and project management. Became a business and marketing consultant dealing with all aspects of business, from planning to angel investment. Angel investment, fantastic. We'll have a chat about that afterwards. No, indeed. And Director of Small Business Solutions and Millionaire Coaching Academy and Right Angel Consultants. A really fantastic guy, a very experienced guy, very commercially astute, lovely man to talk to, and I think he's always been very, very polite to me, even though at times you might have said, "Now, Bradley, come on, kiddo, let's get this thing in order." So thanks very much indeed, Albert. And it's our greatest pleasure to introduce him today, talking on the subject of business wisdom. And just before I pass over to Albert to take the centre stage and to talk to you guys, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody out there that's helped us along this journey. It has been an interesting 3 years in building our network. And again, on the topic of business wisdom, I've just been talking to Albert about our business model and how we move our business model forward to look at what's important and what's an interesting and captivating product for our customers to use and get a benefit from. And we'll more likely continue that discussion after the webcast finished. But once Albert's finished talking, we'll probably have a quick bit of banter afterwards about some of the things that's contained within the slides, and we'll give you full contact details at the end, how you can contact Albert and talk to him directly about the services that he offers. So welcome, Albert. I'm going to jump out of the screen now.
Okay.
First slide for discussion on business wisdom, and over to Albert Wright. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Well, what you can see on this slide now is that we've got an outline of what I'm going to be talking about for the next 25 minutes or so. Your business and you, the traits of exceptional performers, personal abilities that help guarantee results, the types of salespeople, how much you're worth as a business and a business owner, and then the main purpose of your business and the 3 primary ways to grow your business, and then to summarize what we've said, and then we'll go from there. So the proposition is that wisdom that you need in business is twofold. One is the wisdom about yourself, and then the wisdom about business operations. So if we go to the next slide now, your business and you. The point I want to get across at the beginning is that you're not a shoe salesman, you're not an insurance assessor, you're not a consultant, you're not a plumber. The business that you're in is the marketing business, because unless you do marketing and achieve sales, you haven't got a business at all. Now, not everybody is comfortable with marketing, but they need to get comfortable with it, or they need to get somebody else into the business that is comfortable with it. So moving on, you and your business and marketing. Let's look at the people side. You need to know yourself to be successful in business, and this is where you need a bit of personal wisdom. And as it says here, the successful people are the ones who develop the habits of doing the things that unsuccessful people don't do for one reason or another. Now, this was brought home to me when I visited the richest man in the Faroe Islands. The Faroe Islands off the coast of Scotland. This is when I was a fish buyer for Marks and Spencer's, and they have some fantastic fish up there. And I asked this guy, well, how come you're so successful? He says, well, one of the reasons I'm so successful is I'm the only guy who goes out and fishes on Christmas Day. I said, well, why does that make you successful? Because when I land my fish, nobody else is in the market. So if people want to buy fish, they have to pay for it at my prices. So that's an example of doing the things that other people don't want to do. Now, 8 qualities for personal success, business success. You need to know what you want. You have to have specific goals. You also need to know the price you're going to pay to achieve those goals. And sometimes that price is really extraordinarily high. Most people don't get successful overnight. They take years to become successful. And you will have to pay a price for that. And you need to look at what that price is going to be before you start on this journey. You have to be committed. You have to control your time. Well, you can't control your time. The only thing you can control is yourself. So you need to be able to set your priorities. You need the ability to focus. You need to take responsibility yourself for what you're doing. And you need to go the extra mile. Because if you go the extra mile, there's very few people on the road and you'll be successful. And then finally, persistence and determination. So these are the sort of qualities that you need to identify in yourself and accept that you either have or haven't got them, or you're going to get them if you haven't got them, because without them, you're really not going to succeed. And you need the wisdom to think about yourself and think about whether you are going to be a successful entrepreneur. And then along with these, there's abilities that you need. You have to be, these days particularly, an effective communicator. If you can't talk to other people, if you can't communicate in print or whatever medium you're going to use, you're at a pretty strong loss to start with. And you need to develop foresight. Now, this is a strange concept, really. It's like being a magician in the sense that you really need to think about the future and then be able to forecast the future, because you've got to find out, or you've got to estimate what the market is going to do before it does it, so you can take advantage of it. And not everybody has got this skill of looking forward and identifying what's going to be important in the future. And the bigger a business gets, the more the leaders of that business need to develop foresight and look further forward. I mean, a man sitting on the street with a cup begging only is concerned about the next 5 minutes. Is somebody going to drop something in his cup? But if you're looking after a business that employs thousands of people with a massive turnover, something like the Channel Tunnel, you need to be thinking maybe 5, 10 years ahead. So the bigger the business gets, the further out your horizon needs to be. And that's where you need to be thinking and deciding what might happen and how you're going to respond to it. We've got the idea of staying on target up on the right there on the screen. Having decided what you want to do, you have to go for it and keep at it and focus. And then we've got demonstrating leadership. Well, leaders and what makes people leaders rather than managers is a subject in itself, and plenty has been written on it and talked about it. But you do need to develop leadership, because you can't succeed on your own. Even if you haven't got any staff, you're going to have suppliers, you're going to have customers, and you need to be a leader. And then no matter how persuasive your selling skills, which is part of the communication, no matter how good you are at selling things, you have to take action. You can't just plan a business, you have to do a business. And half the time the plans that you write, and I started life in business support as a business planner, aren't going to turn out as they are. You have to be able to adapt those plans. But all the time you can't just sit back and do nothing. You have to continually take action that's appropriate for your business. So, and again, the sort of styles that you need in the selling part of your business, you've got to be ideally what we've called the counselor. So you don't want the professional visitor who just turns up and has a nice chat but never asks for the order. On the other hand, you don't want to be an order taker who simply sits in the office and waits for somebody to call and then can fill in the bits of paper and send off the goods. You don't want to be a peddler who goes in and has his stall, a market stall, and turns around and says, you know, these sheets are £5.50, no, we'll reduce them to £3.35. The in-your-face seller that doesn't listen a word to what the customer wants, but insists that he knows already, or she knows already, what it is the customer needs. And then you've got the problem solver. Well, these problem solvers are fine. They're very good if they can solve a problem for you in your business. But if they don't make money out of solving that problem, they'll never be successful. It's fine to do pro bono stuff if the other part of your business is earning you enough money. But a lot of people are very good at problem solving, but don't monetize their ability to problem solve. Now, the sort of role that I've found in the past that's been a successful one in selling is where you become the principal advisor, the counselor in the American sense. Many of them start off as lawyers, but the counselor that people will go to for advice, will go to talk things over with. And these people are really selling themselves and their knowledge and their positioning and the advice and support that they can give. So you've got to have this aspect of wisdom of knowing who you are, what abilities you've got, what abilities you're going to need, and the way you're going to approach the selling world. So, okay, let's move on. Now, how are people valued in the commercial world? What makes people the value that they are? Well, 3 factors. The need or demand for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty in replacing you. There's only one Elton John. People want to be entertained. They want to have a good time. His ability to do that is phenomenal. And can you replace him? Well, there's some competition, but he's one of a kind. Now, even with star personalities, be they in the music industry or films, you can see this sort of worth that you've got. In films, some people will be paid £12 million for making a film. Others will be paid £1 million for making a film. It does mean that some people really do make a difference. But even in what you do, if it's even a trade, if you're an emergency plumber, there's definitely a demand for what you do. If you're good at being an emergency plumber and you do it well, you can make money out of it. And replacing you, well, okay, there's a lot of competition, but there is some difficulty in replacing you because it needs a lot of training. The same with people like architects. They can do 7 years to train in what they do. So your worth in a business world is partly about the demand for what you are doing. It's partly about your ability to do it and do it well. And finally, it's about how replaceable are you. And you'll be rewarded, as we've said here, in direct proportion to the value you provide your customers. Now, the more different you can become, the more unique you can become, the more difficult to replace you can become, your value will increase. Okay, let's move on again. The customer pays your wages. Now, many people believe that the customer is a logical animal. Most people buy for emotional reasons rather than logical reasons. And you have to appeal to the heart, to the feelings, as well as to the mind when you're doing business with customers. So why do people buy? They buy for the benefits. And some people have spread these benefits that people get from buying things into 6 categories. There is the desire for gain or for profit, particularly monetary gain, monetary profit. They buy it because they think it'll make them more wealthy. But a lot of people buy because they have a fear of loss or a need for security. I mean, the entire insurance industry is more or less based on the fact that people fear losing their car or having it damaged, fear losing their house by setting it on fire, fear all sorts of different fears, fear being left alone. All these fears, this sense of fear is now hang on a second, we've got something on the screen. Okay, all these fears are there and a factor in people's decision to buy. And then another feeling that people have, or another reason that people buy, is pride of ownership or status, particularly with things like cars. An interest in doing something easier or more efficiently. This tends to be the feelings that are around in business-to-business transactions. Okay, how is this going to help me in my business? Is it going to make me more efficient? And then in some aspects of the market, it's the desire for excitement or pleasure. Well, going back to cars again, excitement and pleasure is about sports cars. Self-improvement or an increase in effectiveness. Well, people do want to improve their own skills, and that's another reason why they'll buy something, particularly in the market for personal development, which is quite big in this country and in the States now. Okay, the customer pays your wages. Now, the main purpose of your business is knowing how to profitably attract quality customers. Once you've attracted those customers, next thing you need to do to be successful is ethically, and I stress that word ethically, exploit their maximum financial potential. Make the most out of what you can from doing business with them. If you honestly believe that your product or service delivers a benefit to the customer, then why not try and benefit them even more by selling them even more of what you're proud of and what you do well? Convert your customers to advocates who actively and enthusiastically refer you to others. Many people rely solely on word of mouth to get new business. Converting that word of mouth ability in customers that you've satisfied to bring you more customers can in some ways be part of a system rather than just random. And then the other way to grow your business is to keep your customers for life. Now, more than one study suggests that it costs 6 times as much to get a prospect to buy than it does to get an existing customer to buy. Why? Because an existing customer, hopefully, is already happy with what you've done for them. And if you approach them with other goods and services that are going to give them the same satisfaction that you've already given them, then they're far more likely than a man off the street for the first time to respond to your initiatives. And equally, it's also to get an existing customer, research indicates that it's 16 times easier to sell to an existing customer than it is to a new prospect. So a lot of businesses concentrate on finding new customers. The successful businesses have the wisdom to concentrate on existing businesses in the right proportion. And many businesses, as I say, don't focus on their existing customers enough. Maybe the only existing customer that you might not want to focus enough is, say, in the funeral industry, because most people only have one of them. So, okay, right. Now, let's move on. The 3 primary ways to grow your business. Okay, this is not rocket science. It's quite well accepted, but you need to understand it as well as know it. You need to take it on board and make it the core of your thinking about your business. You need to get more inquiries. Without an inquiry, you haven't got the start of a new customer. But having got those inquiries, you need to create more customers from those inquiries. Many businesses have plenty of inquiries. People are either coming into the shop to browse or going onto the website to download something, but they don't convert to customers. With other businesses, the customers they get are easily converted. Maybe 1 in 2 convert to customers from inquiries, but their problem is getting the inquiries in the first place. So you need to look at your own business, analyze it, and decide which problem you've got, whether it's the acquisition of inquiries or the conversion of inquiries into customers. And then, as we've said before, get as much as you can for as long as you can from each customer. So how are you going to do this? Well, one way is to increase the average sales value, getting your customer to make larger average sales. Now, in the clothing industry, in the menswear retail market, where I started my first job many, many years ago in a department store at the age of 16 as a Saturday boy, we were trained by the good salesman there to say to a customer who bought a suit, well, would you like a shirt to go with that? Would you like a tie to go with the shirt? And even in those days when we were selling shoes, would you like an extra pair of laces? So, I mean, this was a way of actually upselling to the client, or cross-selling to the client. Upselling examples are, let's say, in a restaurant where somebody comes along and the waiter comes up to the table, and there's somebody there that may be a little bit the leader in the party of four, let's say, and says to the waiter, right, well, you know, I think we'll have a bottle of Chablis. And then the waiter turns around with his upselling mindset. Absolutely wonderful choice, sir. Chablis will go with the first courses very well indeed. Now, for the main course, what sort of red would you like? So you're selling them 2 bottles of wine when the guy may well have said, well, I only really wanted the Chablis, but I daren't lose face now, because we're back to what drives people, the emotions. I'll buy a bottle of red as well. Okay, we'll have a red Beaujolais or something. So there are ways of cross-selling, there are ways of upselling in any industry, in any business. And then increasing the number of purchasers. As we say here, the one-time sale should only be considered when you're going out of business next week. You want, in most industries, in most businesses, people to come back time and time again and buy from you again. And many businesses fail to respect their customers. They fail to keep in touch with their customers. So they end up in a circumstance where the customers are ignored. And most people cease being customers because they feel ignored. Only 10% of customers tend to move their supplier because of price. Far more of them go away because they're not valued. So, more referrals from customers. Can you build a system for referrals? Okay, in some ways you may have to pay a commission for referrals, but many people who've done a good job, who you've done a good job for, are quite happy to recommend you to non-competing friends or other businesses. Yet many businesses fail to systematize this and gain from it. And then finally on the slide, we've got increasing the buying lifetime and reducing customer loss. How can you insulate your customers for your competition? So there are ways of doing this. I mean, one for service businesses is to have a newsletter or to have repeat communications with your customers to keep them in mind of you. The customer is the customer is the customer, and you have to focus on the customer. You may think you've done enough to reach a customer, or to reach an inquirer, or to reach a customer and try and get them to buy. But research shows these days that you need to contact a customer, potential customer, to touch that customer in one way or another, probably 17 times before they will actually buy from you. The extent of the time period, the number of interventions that you have to do, the steps to converting an inquirer to a customer are growing because of the increased competition. It used to be about 7, now they reckon it's about 17. So you've got to keep marketing, you've got to keep reminding your customers that you're there, because a customer is part of a moving parade. Let's take the vehicle market. You may be selling cars, but people are there in the market, but not all of them want cars at the same time. So unless you keep in touch, unless you remind them that you're Renault or Mercedes or BMW and that you've got fantastic cars, you've got to be there in their face, available to them when they're ready to buy, not when you as a business are ready to sell. And frankly, the intelligent, successful companies, you know that you have to continue with your marketing and advertising, because if you didn't, they'd stop and save the money that they spend on TV advertising and poster advertising and everything. You need to continually market to your market. Okay. So, in summary, all businesses have to market to sell, because without selling, you haven't got a business. And whatever business you're in, you're really in the marketing business, like it or not. You, as a business owner, need the wisdom to recruit the right people, and you need to understand yourself and identify whether you are the person who has the right attitude, the right qualities, the right abilities, the right sales technique to be a successful entrepreneur. And if it's not for you, then accept that it's not for you and go work for somebody else where you can use your skills to your best ability. Nobody says that everybody has to be an entrepreneur, and frankly, it would be a nutty world if everybody was an entrepreneur. It'd be unbearable. But there are certain characteristics of successful entrepreneurs, and you need to know what they are, to look at yourself and ask yourself, is that me? Small increases, say 10% in each of the sort of three ways that we were talking about of gaining more business, can have a big cumulative impact. Now, we should have a chart on the next slide, Bradley. Can we have a look at that and see if it's there? Okay, so here's a little example. We've got, starting with 100 customers, let's say their average order value is £100, and their average frequency of ordering is twice a year. So what does that give you? 100 times 100 times 2, which is £20,000 turnover. Now, if we get 10% more customers, so customer numbers go up from 100 to 110, then even if we stick with the 100 average order value and the twice a year, we'll now take £22,000 instead of the 20,000. So as you imagine, 10% increase gives you 10% more, 20 to 22. But if in addition to that, we get them to spend 10% more on the third line here, so we've got 110 customers, but now the average order value goes up to £110, so we're selling them more, they're spending more, and they come twice a year, the total turnover has gone up to 24,200. And then if on top of that, with a 10% increase in customers, a 10% increase in what they spend, and they come 10% more frequently to you, and you multiply all that out, we end up with 26,000 plus over a year. Now, most businesses can think of ways whereby they can increase their number of customers by 10%, the average order value by 10%, the frequency of coming and buying by 10%. And if you can't, we certainly can, and we can give you those ideas to increase little by little. But the overall impact of this is huge, as you can see. Sales go up from 20 to 26,000. So, in summary then, that's it. You can decide, you have to have the wisdom to decide whether you're right to be an entrepreneur, and then once you are on the entrepreneurial journey, you have to know some tricks of the trade. You have to know your numbers, as I say, and do the right things, and have the wisdom to do those right things to be successful. Okay?
Wow. I can only actually just say, wow, my stomach is turning over, but in a really, really good way. Albert, thank you so much. I actually think that was the most open and frank and very clear and precise 25 minutes discussion about a number of areas that actually make a business. And of all the webcasts that we've done previously, this story that you've given has had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I've listened to this absolutely intuitively. And when you hear things that actually sometimes you don't want to accept, it makes you, well, it should actually make you feel that you need to take action. And I've listened to Albert, and I've been sitting there, and as I say, my stomach's going round and round in knots, because actually, to be honest, I'm at a stage where I need to make a number of decisions, and this is so ironically where we are at. It's untrue, and Albert actually knows that, because we've just sat and had a discussion about it, and now he's made me feel totally sick in a really good way. But actually, most of it is common sense, and this is what I wanted to say to Albert, actually. When you look at a business from a holistic point of view, and you look at an entrepreneur that's running a business, I'm absolutely certain that you look at an entrepreneur and you say, oh my God, you can see somebody when they're running round in mad circles. So what's your view on how you get an entrepreneur to say, look, stand back,
Yep.
you've got some decisions to make,
Yep.
and how do you calm them down to get them into the saddle to take action in the right ways in order to make what you've said, build, make it successful, make this work, because this is very simple stuff. But how do you get this person to, like me? I mean, how do you?
The live way. Well, you're the most difficult type of client.
I'm aware, but I need a kick up the butt. So how do you deal with people like me? I mean,
I think one of the ways is to give people credit for what they're good at and give them an element of praise or recognition that working hard is one of the things you do need to do to be successful. And when you come across people like you who are extremely hard workers, and some of the other clients we've had who really work their socks off to get where they want to be, that's the first thing that you recognize and tell them about. And then you go into discussions about, well, okay, what is it that you like doing best? And then that will identify as well those things that you don't like doing best. And then it's, well, okay, you seem to be very active, but are you getting a return on all this activity? Or is some activity less profitable than others? I mean, even in huge businesses today, they tend to look at information at quite a high level. And most of them have dud products that aren't paying their way if they're looked at properly as a standalone part of what the business is on about. Or they have dud customers that they have got in the past. They want more and more customers. They think the secret to success is more and more customers. Yet some customers, frankly, are a pain in the arse. And in some businesses, we get them to play a Christmas game, which is sack the customer. So, at the staff Christmas party, they vote on who's the worst customer. And usually there's 80 to 90% unanimity about who the best customer is. Because they're the ones who argue about price. They're the ones who argue about delivery. They're the ones who argue about no product development. And they're probably only representing 2, 3, 4% of your total business. Yet they're taking up 8, 10, 15% of your time. So just having lots of customers or lots of products isn't the sensible way. It's not showing wisdom. You need to analyze what you've got and get rid of stuff. I mean, I worked for Marks and Spencer's for many years, and whilst it wasn't a rule that for every new product you bring in, you had to eliminate an old product that wasn't selling, that was part of the discipline in the business. You only had a certain amount of space in the shops, and bringing in new products meant that they had to give you a better return than the ones that were already there and justify their space. And if they didn't, you wouldn't just keep them on just because they were new. But there you were creating internal competition, and you were saying, we've got this, it's selling quite well, and it was always constant improvement. What can we bring in that's going to sell better, that's going to give us as well a better return on the space and the people that we've invested in? Because we can't do everything for everybody. So, I mean, that's one answer. You take them through a little story about how they got to where they are, what they're good at, what they don't like doing so much. And then sometimes it's the analysis of it. Well, let's look in a reasonable amount of detail at what works and what doesn't.
Okay, no, fantastic. I think we've got a question that's coming.
Okay.
We've got a chat bar flashing there. We've got hi Albert. This is Joe. Hi Albert, thank you for a great talk. And Joe, if you've got a question, please type it away. But yes, Albert has given a great talk. I think it's given us lots of point of discussion. I'm going to give you some contact details now, Albert. Just squeeze into the middle of the screen.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
that's it.
All right.
That's it. We're getting all cozy now. I'm just going to give you Albert's contact details. If you want to contact Albert directly, Albert's based at Enterprise House, 10 Oxford Gardens, London, N29AG. Telephone number to contact Albert is 0208 343 8558. I've not got my glasses on. That's quite small on the screen. But you can email Albert at millionairecoachingacademy.co.uk or visit www.sbslimited.net. So we've had a great discussion today. It's been really interesting for me talking to Albert, not just because Albert's sitting here doing a webcast, but because I actually didn't know, as I said before, that Albert first saw me at the British Library when I gave a speech, which is quite strange. I'm quite touched by that because it just goes to show how by marketing.
Yeah, you marketed yourself. That's one of the routes to market.
You never know where you're going to find customers.
Yeah.
And so Albert's company, Small Business Solutions Limited. I really do urge that you contact Albert. When people contact you and they want to perhaps make an initial discussion, how do you manage that? What do you do?
Okay, what we do is we give people 30 minutes on the phone, no charge. And at the end of that period, we'll decide whether or not we think we can help you achieve what it is you're setting out to achieve.
Yeah.
And then the meter starts ticking. From there, we'll set up a further meeting and we'll talk about how much that might be. But as I say, we're not. We are a commercial business. We are not a not-for-profit business. We're only a not-for-profit business when we make mistakes. We do give people 30 minutes free to start with.
Absolutely fantastic. And in terms of people that need ongoing support, when I spoke to someone last week, they said, actually, I want, if I get the right support functionality in place, I want that person to be there with me as long as I need them. How long will you offer your services to a business for?
As long as they need. I mean, we've got some clients. We've got a guy who makes air gun pellets that we've been doing work for.
Give me a couple of those. That might be easier for me to make a decision about where we're going.
That we've been doing work for nearly 15 years now. I mean, we started off working with him a long time ago. We were able to get him a grant for £93,000, and he's been very grateful since. So we'll work for somebody on like a retainer program for a year. There's a number of different programs that we've got in the Millionaire Coaching Academy on their website, indicate how we can operate. But the best thing is to contact me, let me know what it is you want help with, and we'll give you a quote for it. We've also got a feedback guarantee in the sense that for those customers we take on, and we don't take on everybody, we guarantee that what they pay, they will get more in value than what they've paid. And if they think they haven't had that, then we'll refund the difference.
Well, that's awesome. That's absolutely fantastic. I want to ask you a personal question just before we go over there. You spent a long time, a lot of years at Marks and Spencer's.
Yes.
In a buying position. I wasn't aware of previously. Do you think that working for a company like Marks and Spencer's, I mean, look, I know they've been through lots of changes and they've been through lots of rebranding, and the product is just awesome right now. I'm not sure how the cook thing, but I think they've totally reinvented themselves, and it's a pleasure to walk in M&S once again, especially their food department. I can afford it. Do you think working for a company like Marks and Spencer's has given you the, I call it not like only working for the military, but their structure, their organisation, their years of development, how they train and look after their staff, has that helped you to become who you are today? Has that given you some skills?
That's been a big influence on me, Bradley. I mean, one thing certainly that I learned from them is this idea of constant improvement. No matter how good you are, you can always be better. And also to have standards, quality standards. I advise all my clients not to compete on price. And certainly Marks and Spencer's never intended to compete on price. Because as far as price is concerned, there can only be one lowest cost provider. There can only be one lowest price. And you're onto a hiding to nothing on profitability if your main reason for somebody buying from you is price. So that was one of the other things they told me. But yes, they had and they wanted people to do what they were good at. And even back in the 1970s and 80s, their salary structure was such that if you added value to the business as a specialist, like a food technologist, then you could easily get paid more than a manager, because the value that was added by an experienced, older technologist to the business was often more than a young manager. And I remember having an out with them when I was a young manager, arguing that I should be paid more because I was their manager. And it was pointed out to me, he said, well, okay, you've got the potential to add value to this business, but at the moment, Jeff over there is adding more value than you are, so shut up, and we're still paying him what we're paying him, and pay you what we're paying you. And you've got to pay for quality people. That's the other thing I learned.
I think people is such an amazing part of being business, and everyone that I spoke to that's successful say, Bradley, your people are your business, and it's not just about having amazing people in your business. It's working on those people and continuing to develop them, which I guess also is part of the service and some of the thought processes that you would.
Yes, one of the guys that works as an associate for us, who I know David Clarkson. is an expert in analysing personality profiles of different people and teams, and he can sort of help people understand why some people are always arguing with other people because they're coming from different places. But he also helps, having identified their personality types, how they can work together better. And that's part of what we do for bigger companies. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, but listen, today we'll be going about 30, 40 minutes now.
Oh my God.
Quite a long one today.
Stop.
So final thought. So you will either step forward into growth or you will step back into safety. Abraham Maslow. Okay, fantastic statement up there from Tom Nates, my operations manager.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, I really enjoyed the Raw TV webcast today. I'm going to go and pinch 30 minutes free with Albert now in the ballroom, just have a chat about the options for the company, where we need to go. But seriously, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to watch Raw Business TV. We hope you've enjoyed it today. On behalf of myself and the team here at Raw Business, I wish to thank Albert for coming in and joining us. And I'll talk to you very quickly about what we've got lined up for tomorrow. Before we both say goodbye, we've got Charlie Mullins of Pimlico Plumbers tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Now, I've got to confirm this with Charlie, because this man is busier than a hat on a cat on a hot tin roof. Very busy man. Those of you who know Charlie Mullins or heard of him, he owns a company called Pimlico Plumbers based in London. He's an ambassador to the Prince's Trust. He's very pro-entrepreneurship. He's very communicable with the government right now in finding ways to help entrepreneurship. And also, he does the most amazing bacon sarnie and his on-site cafe at his unit there in South London. So I'll be able to have a bacon sarnie with Charlie in the morning, as long as he can make it. We'll be having an open and frank interview type webcast tomorrow, and we'll be talking about Charlie, his rise to fame from poverty to absolute success. And if you've heard some of the news cuttings and slippings about Charlie and his family, what they've gone through and what they do now, they're the most amazing family. He's been a great supporter of me personally, and I want to thank him in advance, actually, of letting me come and see him tomorrow. He always has me in stitches when I speak to him, and he's very down to earth, and I find myself going back to my real Essex roots and talking to a South London boy. So I'm really looking forward to see Charlie. Thank you for today, for taking time to listen to us. As you know, our slogan right now is everyday people achieve extraordinary things. We hope that you do exactly that. It's goodbye from me, Bradley Chapman, and it's goodbye from Albert.
Goodbye.